Greetings to you all. Welcome back to another exciting episode of School of Imageability podcast, episode number 2. Pause. Today I have a guest who happens to be my colleague in the class, who is Katlego Maruping, who is researching on the formation of informal taxi ranks. Welcome, Katlego Maruping.
Yes. How are you? And hello to all the viewers. So, like you said, I am researching on the taxi industry, particularly the formation of informal taxi ranks and their influence on space and the surroundings. And what I'm trying to achieve is to get a way for us as planners to plan for such events. Should we be stopping such urban phenomena from happening? And since, that is unrealistic, how do we plan for such things when they happen?
Yes, thank you for that brief overview of your research. So the first question I want to ask you is related to your understanding. I'll say, what is your understanding about street vending in the city of Johannesburg?
Street vending. Street vending is, according to me, it happens. It's basically like people selling. So it can be formal, it can be informal.
Yes.
But particularly in Johannesburg, I would say it is an informal activity. Most of the people that sell there are unregistered and unlicensed to be doing that. However, it is undoubtedly a phenomenon that has been happening, and it is entrenched in the urban fabric of Johannesburg, because at this point we can't imagine Johannesburg without street vendors.
Yes.
And we can say that it is something that is permanent. It is something that actually orientates people in Johannesburg. People associate Johannesburg with street vending. And I think also street vending is I would say it strongly lies with the resourcefulness, especially in Johannesburg. It's the resourcefulness of the people in achieving better livelihoods, meaning that they use the resources that they have and in order to make money and all of that.
Yeah, that was a great response to your thinking about street vending in the city of Johannesburg. My following question is, since you mentioned that you are dealing with, you are researching on the formation of informal taxi ranks. So what do you think about the taxi industry? Do you think it has influence over the formation of street vending?
Well, the taxi industry, it does have an influence in terms of the formation of street vending. If we try to look at how the taxi industry operates, there needs to be a taxi rank at some point where the clients are offloaded and picked up, and that is a very suitable spot for conducting vending businesses, because you can get access to a lot of customers. So that is what I think is the influence of taxi industry on street vending, where the people who are into street vending, they identify taxi ranks as an opportunity to get a very large client pool.
Yes. So as you have mentioned about street vending and taxi rank working together, so you are saying there's a relationship between the two.
Yeah, definitely there is a relationship between the two. However, I would say that it is a relationship where the taxi industry happens. Are you saying the taxi ranks or taxi industry?
Taxi ranks.
Okay,
Because what I've noticed is where there is street vending, there's also taxi ranks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would say that taxi ranks happen independently,
Yes.
while street vending happens dependent on the taxi ranks. However, based on my current knowledge on taxi ranks,
Yes.
I would say since we have the formal taxi ranks and the informal taxi ranks, the formal taxi ranks happen independently of happen because of township layouts. The
Yes.
formal ones, they
Yes.
happen because they were allocated there, and they don't depend on the people or whatever that's happening on the ground. Whilst informal taxi ranks are responding to the environment, and to some extent I would say that so informal taxi ranks happen sometimes because there is street vending there.
Yes.
Because so should I be explaining what informal taxi ranks are?
Nah, don't explain. It's okay.
Okay, yeah, but to some extent that's where they usually happen because there's too much activity there. So sometimes there are nodes within townships where people are already selling, and it is easier for informal taxi ranks to happen there because they can get people, clients, and all of that. So yeah.
So in a summary of what you are saying street vending influences the formation of informal taxi ranks,
yeah,
in the hood or everywhere in the world.
Yeah,
Which is interesting,
particularly in townships.
in townships.
Yeah.
Yes, that's cool. So my following question is, like as I've mentioned in the first question, that I'm looking at the city of Johannesburg. We've seen, like, for an example, there's a taxi rank in, like, for example, taxi rank in the taxi rank. There's a presence of street vending, which, like what you have mentioned on the response, previous response. You mentioned that there are where people are there are so many people who are available easily, so that they can get, like, money. Like you talked about, like, economic side of street vending and the livelihood experience of street vendors. So the question would be, as you have seen how populated city of Johannesburg is, so if we're in a position of leadership, let's say you are a city manager, what will you do? What will be your contribution to manage this both street vending and taxi industry, so they can link, or their job be in a way that it respects the law, since the street vending is informal and it's not formalized, or they're not paying rent to a space where they're operating their daily businesses, and they're affecting the walkability on the sidewalks.
I hear what you're saying. However, if I was in a leadership position in the city of Johannesburg, instead of I would number one, with the question that you're asking me, you are already viewing the how can I put it? You are saying, how can I create a better link between the informal taxi rank, the taxi ranks, and
the
street vending?
Yes.
However, if we look at what is happening on the ground, we can say that there's already a relationship between the two. It is already there.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to bring my own solution, I would in fact see ways of bettering what is happening there already.
Yes.
So like what you said with influences of street vending on walkability and pedestrian movement within the cityscape,
Yes.
I would probably implement I don't know, strategies that would obviously help in arranging the street vendors, instead of trying to formalize them.
Yes.
I wouldn't formalize them, but I would better arrange the spaces that they work in. So, since we already know that street vendors, they they are what, they don't they are not registered. Obviously, they just come and claim a spot.
Yes.
Since we know that we are working under those dynamics where a spot is claimed by this person and that person uses that spot every day, how about we try and put assisting street furniture that would help those street vendors that are already using those spaces in a way that it doesn't impact walkability, and to a greater extent helps in how the streets look. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I understand your response, but at the same time, looking at the city of Johannesburg, it's already built. They've already designed like suitable sidewalks only for people, not for street trading. So what I'm getting from this conversation is you are going to limit vehicular movement to accommodate sidewalks.
Yeah, definitely, because number one, if we are focusing the city mainly on not necessarily focusing the city on street vending, but if we are trying to focus on street vending and trying to make it better, we have to limit car movement and improve walkability. So in a way, we'll have to decrease the road size and expand our pathways for the pedestrians in order for street vendors to work and for it to be profitable.
I understand. Yeah, like my final question will be, but in a way you have already answered the question because it looks at the contribution you as a planner, not looking at the whole conversation we've been having as an individual, but then with the knowledge from planning perspective, what contribution would you put or interventions in the spaces where street vending is seen as dead, is seen as it doesn't, it, as like some scholars they've mentioned that it does revive, like it brings streets to life, but then at the same time it's seen as dead, especially in countries where in Europe where they're already developed countries, it's seen as dead, but then in an African cities it's seen as means of living, means of livelihood experience. So what would be your contribution as a planner to shift that perspective in an African cities?
That question
It's
is
challenging.
all right.
understand.
Okay, my view on that in terms of my contributions to planning, and planning particularly for African cities, I so far, based on readings and journals that I've read so far,
Yes.
we scholars are realizing that informality is a significant part of the African city, and it is not something that will be going away anytime soon. This is reflected not particularly necessarily, but almost in everything that happens in African urban landscapes. In the taxi industries, in the taxi industries, street vending, human settlements, almost in every urban built element we are finding informality. So my contribution as a planner is the way in which I'll be approaching urban planning problems is to view problems not necessarily as problems. And who are we to say that urban phenomenons are a problem?
Yes.
However, we can view them as circumstances that could be bettered or stopped. not necessarily stopped, but assisted. So I believe an incremental approach in planning is what is suited for the African urban city. To say that let's look at what is happening on the ground and let's implement plans that are responding to what is happening already.
Yeah, thank you for your response and your time for this wonderful and exciting conversation we had. From me, Richmond Manavera, we are done with today's podcast episode. Until we meet next time. Thank you.
Danko.